This is an assumptions question. The conclusion of the argument is this last sentence here. Remember, an assumption is something that strengthens the conclusion of the argument and something that must be true for the conclusion of the argument to hold ground. The missing link is between all the information provided here and this conclusion here. The paragraph says that a cartoonist successfully sued the government for using artwork that resembled characters created by the cartoonist. Consequently, the government will no longer utilize artwork that resembles well-known cartoon characters. And then the conclusion has been reached that the cost of such campaigns will rise as licensing specific images of well-known cartoon characters is significantly more expensive. We need an answer choice that strengthens the conclusion and something that must be true for the argument to hold ground. That most people cannot differentiate between the images of well-known cartoon characters and the artwork that closely resembles such images is just an operational detail. This has no bearing on how or whether the campaign costs will rise. Besides, this information is not something that must be true for the conclusion to hold ground, so this cannot be called an assumption. Imagine, even if most people are able to differentiate between such images, this conclusion here remains unaffected. That campaigns featuring specific images of well-known cartoon characters are more effective than the campaigns featuring the copies is just additional information. This has no bearing on whether the cost of such campaigns will rise. Answer choice C has no bearing on the conclusion of the argument, so this cannot be a valid assumption. If original versions of some well-known cartoon characters cannot be used in such campaigns, this would weaken the conclusion. An assumption statement always strengthens the conclusion, so choice C cannot be correct. Answer choice E contradicts factual information presented in the paragraph. The paragraph mentions that the government will no longer utilize such artwork, so we cannot say that the government will continue to use such mimics. Remember, a correct answer choice never contradicts factual information. Questioning the reasoning is alright, but questioning the facts, never. Besides, it has been mentioned that the cartoonist successfully sued the government and therefore using such mimics would be against the law. Please always be very careful about such unethical, crafty sounding answer choices. They are only very rarely correct on the test. Let's confirm answer choice D now. Yes, in order to conclude that the cost of such campaigns will rise because of the recent incidents, it is important to establish that the government will actually go about licensing specific images of such well-known cartoon characters, which is what answer choice D says. This answer choice says that the government will use specific images of well-known cartoon characters in its awareness campaigns. This choice says that the government will be using such images, and we know that in the paragraph it's mentioned that the government can no longer use the mimics and therefore the only option left is licensing. So answer choice D, by suggesting that the government will continue to use such images, strengthens the conclusion that the government will go about paying the licensing fee, etc. And imagine it is something that must be true for the argument to hold ground. If the government stops using such images, this conclusion here that the cost of such campaigns will rise will be weakened. So answer choice D strengthens the conclusion. It is something that must be true for the argument to hold ground. D is a valid assumption. D is the correct answer choice.